Okay, welcome back then. It's late December 1865, and yeah, a bit of a funny one, because if you'll recall, we left off in, I think, early September, so a few months have passed, and the reason for that is I made a video the other day, and the recording was lost in the process of making the video. Of course, it's not the first time in this series that this has happened. Doesn't usually matter too much. I mean, in warfare, I tend to try and sort of like to depict every single move, because with warfare, there's a bit of high drama, and there's quite a lot going on, and it would just be crazy to kind of, do like an update every couple of months, because the armies would be in different locations, big battles would have happened, sieges might have been resolved or started, and it'd be kind of rather hard to follow, I would imagine. So to that end, I tend to sort of depict every turn, and it wouldn't matter too much with the last 3 months, because of course, militarily the war is over with the Austrian Empire. It's inconceivable they can recover the situation, and nothing dramatic has happened. The cause of the lost video is I was actually making it. It was quite a long video. It was about 2.5 hours. I had resolved in the video, and I was talking about in the video that I would just make it into 2 videos, sort of thing. And there was a bit of a thunderstorm crackling outside, and I'm sure you could see where this is going. But there was a power cut that only lasted about sort of, a couple of seconds, really. Didn't affect the game in the slightest, because it's turn-based. Everything is saved, but suffice to say the recording was lost. Now, that will require a little bit of an update in terms of things that have happened over the last few months. There have been no massive engagements, as you can imagine. The war is over militarily. And we left off really with the kind of Czech quandary, which is to say that Austria had offered us its first territorial concession, which is that it was prepared to create an independent kingdom in what is modern-day Czech Republic, really, Bohemia and Moravia. And we, of course, were interested in territorial concessions, and it was a bit of a quandary, because I thought, well, it would weaken the Austrian Empire. It's the location of most of its coal deposits, for example, a lot of the important materials necessary for a large industrial economy. And whilst it's relatively small, it's a very densely populated region, so it is important to the Austrian Empire. So it was tempting, but there were reservations which I voiced in the last video, such as the fact that it's an area that the Prussians may take interest in, and indeed, if Austria decided to try and take it back, we could possibly have a guarantee on its independence, but there was very little we could do really to intervene, unless the Bohemian Kingdom was able to build a fairly large army, which is doubtful, at least in the short term. So I mean, you can tell now from 3 months later, I didn't go ahead with that. My plan was, actually in the last video, to try and resolve the war in one sitting. Absolutely fatal to do that with grand strategy games, as anyone that plays them knows, to have a kind of clear idea. I have to do this before I stop playing, especially with a game like this, where, it's sort of, it's not a sure thing at all. And suffice to say, we have not secured a peace deal with Austria, and in fact, what the last 3 months, what the last video would have depicted, is a running kind of insurgency that is gradually growing in intensity. It's not a military threat in a fundamental sense. We have nearly 500,000 men or more, probably 750,000 men in the Austrian Empire, and their army, their main conventional field army, has been devastated, and it has no means of recovering itself, really. But there is lots of pockets of resistance cropping up. Now, we did get enough points to actually put forward an offer to the Austrians that we want Hungary to secede, to become an independent kind of polity, and we put that forward to them. But I had to kind of, when I proposed this about 2 months ago, I had to act really in some way as though the Austrians would accept it. So to that end, I've destroyed every single farm and factory in the Austrian Empire. Pretty much everything that was in the Austrian Empire that produced anything, any kind of capitalist enterprise, was laid waste to. I also destroyed the fortress in Vienna, because I thought, well, I want to be able to retake Vienna again fairly readily if need be, and I'd rather it wasn't fortified, especially if it's a fortress that we happen to have built, So I destroyed the fortress in Vienna. This turned out to be a bit of a mistake. In terms of destroying the industrial enterprises of the Austrian Empire, well, that's not a huge mistake, but I mean, it was fairly productive, and it actually benefited our economy in the short term. And it also filled a lot of commodity gaps, and pretty much everything. I mean, this area is also now part of our domestic market. Okay, we probably sell less manufactured goods in Vienna than if Austria occupied it, because it's militarily occupied, But nevertheless, we make a lot of kind of private capital through like the retail of goods, different kinds of commodities, foodstuffs, but we're really struggling with manufactured goods. You know, essentially we are supporting the Austrian Empire. We're basically providing its economy with all the commodities necessary to keep it kind of going, you know. And that's a struggle. We're actually going to start for the first time in about 10 years, maybe slightly less. We're starting to import manufactured goods and steel and things like that. To kind of, to sort of, make good the shortfall. But yeah, anyway, there's been a kind of growing kind of insurgency. At different times, they've managed to take towns like Pressburg, and actually, on one occasion, there was a massive revolt in Vienna. We didn't have any troops immediately posted in Vienna, and Vienna fell. It was actually retaken by the Austrians, which is a huge embarrassment. We didn't suffer any significant national morale, actually, as a result of that, because it's not our city anyway, it's their capital. We suffered a prestige hit and a small national morale hit. The Austrian national morale went through the roof. You know, it was a kind of Paris Commune moment where it's, you know, sort of the heroes of Vienna were venerated, and within a fortnight, the very small kind of partisan force was quickly supplemented by pretty much a couple of army corps that seemed to spontaneously appear out of nowhere, I guess, as they quickly tried to reorganize a scratch force. It wasn't enough. I mean, Mehmed Ali just marched, you know, it was a 10-day march. He moved in on Vienna and destroyed the kind of partisan force that had taken control of the city. This is actually the remnants of it scattered around Vienna. And once again, Austrian national morale is in the toilet, and that's welcome. The only significant, development, or the only significant battle, I should say, in the last 3 months was a significant engagement of Verona, where the Austrians attempted to move a fairly considerable force, about 150 to 200,000 men, from the Italian peninsula back into really the kind of political center of their empire under our control. Mehmed Ali stopped them in the Battle of Verona. It was a really, really big battle. They suffered about 80,000 casualties, so he destroyed nearly half of their army, absolutely devastated them. And that's pretty much it. That's where we left off. We're at 248 points. We need 250 to press for Hungarian secession again. One of the problems we have is that every single turn, Austria offers us a peace deal, and the only territorial concession they've offered us was Bohemia and Moravia back in September. Since then, they've just been offering chicken feed. Nothing that we're even going to consider accepting. There's no way that we could really get this far, take our boot off their throats for something like 70 or 100, £1,000 a year for 20 years, which they're only going to pay for 3 or 4 years anyway until they redeclare war. So, yeah, I think we have to kind of do this for keeps. So the other option that I'm considering is we might press for Croatia and Montenegro instead of Hungary, and see that as a stepping stone. The reason being is Croatia is a fairly significant area. I believe it includes Slavonian, Zagreb, Fiume, and the kind of Dalmatian coastline. And Montenegro is now part of the Austrian Empire. It doesn't exist. They organised the peace deal and they absorbed it. They must have had a claim on Montenegro. So we could get Montenegro thrown in. And that would provide us with contiguous territory. Now, we don't gain this territory. These areas become independent. But they become independent with very good relations with us. With everyone else, they have neutral relations. I think they have poor relations with Austria, probably minus 50. Everyone else, they start off with a blank canvas. With us, they start off with like plus 50. Very good relations, and we can build on that with both Montenegro and Croatia. We could look to organise a trade to a commerce agreement with them, basically integrate them into our economy, make them dependent on commodity imports from us. And these are areas that we could be readily defended, and as a stepping stone to maybe go for Hungary next time. The difficulty is that the threshold for Hungary is so high that we have to really hold down almost the entire Austrian Empire in order to really get the points needed. And it's very difficult with endless insurgencies and revolts cropping up everywhere. And it doesn't matter how big our army is. We cannot have an army on every single tile on the Austrian Empire. We just wouldn't have, there's no way that we can occupy the entire area and hold it down. We require slightly less points for Croatia and Montenegro. The other thing also is that independent Hungary wouldn't actually have a border with us. That's the thing. I kind of thought about that. It wouldn't have a border with us. We could access it. If they declared war on Hungary, we could simply move a large army from Sarajevo, for example, to intervene in Hungary. I do really like the idea of Hungary. I prefer Hungary, and I'm going to hold out. but I'm thinking about maybe Croatia and Montenegro as something that's requires slightly less. We could push for that now if we wanted to. So I'm on the fence a little bit. But the difficulty is that Austria offers its chicken feed every turn, and we offer something, but their offer seems to take priority. Our offer is cancelled out, and their offer is the one that takes priority. I don't know what governs that. I don't think it's prestige, because we have more prestige than them. The only thing I think it is it might be that they have more diplomats. In terms of the diplomatic rating, it's the same as ours. But if they've got maybe a large inventory of diplomats, which I would suggest they have, because they're making an offer every single turn, which costs them diplomats. So maybe we have to just wait that out. I mean, it's late December, so we're going to get another 2 or 3 diplomats, I think. And maybe that would provide us with a basis for our offer taking precedence. I don't know what governs it, but yeah, we have to really just kind of hold out a little bit longer. The thing that's really concerning is that we're entering into 1866. And 1866 in real life is when the Austro-Prussian War happened. This is when Prussia intervened, really to kind of like determine the dominant German power. You know, you have the Hohenzollerns in Berlin, the Protestant North, and then you have the Catholic South, which looks to the kind of Habsburgs in Vienna or wherever they are, probably hiding in Munich or maybe in Italy somewhere at the moment. But so yeah, this war, if it happens, if it's an event that's triggered, you know, it could happen, and it would be very complicated, of course, with us controlling a large part of their empire. I don't know what that would mean, and also how it's coded. What if the controller of Prague automatically ends up at war with Prussia, or something mad like that, or the controller of Vienna? I don't know. I think that's really unlikely that it would be that mechanical, because it's not typical of AGO games to be like that. They tend to be much more dynamic. But at the same time, it would be absolutely crazy for us at this point to have achieved this much, to just kind of settle for some sort of really rubbish, cheap deal. So we're not going to do that. So anyway, we're going to hold our position. We are engaging, as you can see, various running insurgencies. We've detached a corps from Rita Pasha's command. It's under the command of Abdi Pasha II. And that corps has been sent east to besiege Tarnopol, which was recaptured by Austrian partisans. There are Austrian partisans currently being besieging Grosswarden by our forces. Austrian partisans are besieging our garrison in Kronstadt, and they're also running operations on the west bank of the Danube, attempting to take the east bank of the Danube, trying to take East Budapest. It's getting a little bit kind of like, you know, crazy, really. But we're holding it down. It just requires us moving forces continuously. We've regained the Dalmatian coastline, which is a change from September. And one other thing also, and this is a very recent development, is Piedmont Sardinia has joined the war on our side. I don't know, I mean, they've not made much of a showing yet, but I mean, if they can't take the Italian peninsula now, whilst we control Vienna, and, you know, Austria has no national morale, no functioning government, and not much of an army, I don't know when they're going to be able to unite Italy. So this is their opportunity to do it, really. And as you say, if they don't do it now, they're not going to. The Austrians have faced various revolts in central Italy, which they seem to be able to put down, which suggests they have fairly substantial forces in Italy still, but that are at least good enough that they can suppress rebellions. But yeah, we've resecured the Dalmatian coastline. The Tripoli division, we've landed in Constanza, and is now in Bucharest. And we're actually going to activate that to offensive posture and look to besiege Kronstadt. We've also got a cavalry brigade which we moved from Libya. We're going to keep that force just in its current location for the time being, just to hold a kind of defensive posture around Bucharest. I think in terms of what we're besieging in Grosswarden, it's just a small garrison force at the moment. I think we're just going to have to hold our position there for the time being. We're not going to set to an offensive or anything like that. We'll set to a defensive posture. And we'll set to hold out at all costs. How long will it take Rita Pasha? 4 days. Let's do that. Let's lift the siege on Prismil. And he might even be able to move up to Tarnopol. No, I don't think so. $11 days. So we're going to pass through Yeah, we're going to pass through Prisma. That positions him then to... one of the problems we've had is just northeast of the Carpathians, the Ruthenian part of the Austrian Empire has kind of fallen to partisans. They've even managed to get commanders in there and some regular forces. One of the problems we've got is the Austrian access rights to pretty much all the German states. So this functions as like a kind of never-ending Ho Chi Minh's trail. It means that Austrian forces can fall back. They struggle to get replacements, of course, but their armies can recover over a period of time. And then they can pretty much move back into former Austrian territory by any way that they want, really. There's not much we can do about it, which is incredibly frustrating. But anyway. I think we'll set Beyazid Pasha to an offensive posture for the time being there. And Abdul Karim Nadir will set to an offensive posture also. So we've got a pretty large Bavarian army outside Munich. I don't want to get too kind of embroiled in German politics, really, North German politics. So I'm reluctant to kind of make a move on the Bavarians. So I think we're going to keep Hussein Avni for the time being sort of at Salzburg. I think that's all we can do. The other thing we have got is the Free Hungary Corps. We might actually use this force. The Austrians, of course, have retaken Belgrade and Sombor, so we want to kind of change that. So we might actually 11 days. We'll move to assault, and then 22 days. Okay. So 11 days. We'll move the Free Hungary Corps to retake Belgrade, and then we'll look to push north to Sombor. I think also we have a Marine Brigade, which is now available for operations. $18 days. We'll try and there's no point in force marching it. Or 16 days actually. Okay, we get the Marine Brigade up then to sort of East Budapest. That's it. That's pretty much all the moves, and that's kind of what it's been like every turn since September. It's just moving forces around, countering. You know, you stamp on one nest of ants, another crops up, kind of thing. It's kind of never ending, really. So we've got the Imperial fleet about to move back into Constantinople. The only other significant development is that we've got ironclad ships. It's not given us any concrete things that we can build yet, but it's a kind of theoretical development. And we've now started with a lot of state revenue. We've started to broaden what we're investing in. Now, we achieved one really important technology. We didn't actually research it. It just arrived kind of osmosis style. And that's coal cutting machines. That enables us to upgrade our coal mines. By clicking on this. We're not going to do it just yet. And we're going to start doing that. The reason being is we are a net coal importer. We import about 30 units of coal per turn. I'm going to double check that. I'm pretty sure that's the case. That's just to break even. And that's despite the fact that we're pretty much exploiting all of our coal all of our coal sites at the moment. The last coal mine in Ottoman territory that we're building is in Bihać with a railroad. That's going to be some time before that's complete. The Bihać Railroad is almost complete, and that will link up Ottoman state railways with the Austrian railways that we kind of own, really, that we run at the moment, that we kind of, in occupied areas. That'll be quite important for moving up supplies, reinforcements, especially in future conflict. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's quickly check the Empire. So we're at 50% in Qatar, 48% colonial penetration in Dubai, and 45 in Aden. We need 50 in each. So Qatar should be in a position now to move over to colony status. There it is. How much is that going to cost? 371 plus one diplomat. Let's do it. Our plan between now and 1870 is to basically colonize the Hejaz, move all these areas from protectorate status to colony status. So Hejaz, Aden, Qatar, and Dubai. And we've got Qatar in the bag now. It'll take a bit of time for that to process, but that's really, really good. 8 turns. So, yeah, excellent news. Right, that's it. Economic administration has been set for the turn. I don't think there's anything else that I've missed in terms of, kind of last 3 months sit rep. Now, Piedmont Sardinia's in the war. They briefly retook Vienna, or some partisans did anyway, because we destroyed the fortress there. which is probably a mistake in retrospect. It means we're going to have to maintain a permanent force in Vienna now, really. We've retaken it back, and yeah, I mean, Austrian national morale, again, is at 0. They've got no way back militarily from this. Absolutely no way back. But we've won the war. It's whether or not we can win the peace that we want, sort of thing, which is an independent Hungary. If it seems inconceivable in the next couple of months, I think by March we're going to probably settle for Croatia and Montenegro. That might even be better for us anyway, and then look at Hungary kind of next set of the circle, you know. But yeah, that's it. I'm going to put you on pause, pass turn, and we'll see you on the other side at the beginning of 1866 in January, so see you on the other side. Okay, welcome back. Then early January 1866, the beginning of a new year, and I had really thought this war would be over by now. I was really hoping to kind of end it really by the end of 65, but we're not far off, I think. We still don't have the points necessary to press for Hungary. Austria's offered us something. It's not great. It's basically £75,000 a year or whatever it is, plus the independence of Slovakia, which is this area here, which is interesting. But I mean, it's interesting they're offering territory and it's welcome, but it's a no-go. It's Hungary, I think, you know, or maybe Croatia and another territory. But yeah, we're not interested in these northern territories. We still don't have enough points to press for anything, not that we could anyway at this moment. Yeah, I mean, in terms of the engagements, they're just lots of small engagements with basically partisans, you know, nothing decisive. I think we're sitting 238 points at the moment. I'm going to have to make a couple of military moves to continue trying to kind of put pressure on the Austrians in the interior. So we're going to set for an assault at Grosswarden now. All out. We've got Riza Pasha plus a corps and Abdi Pasha, which we detached, besieging Carpenton and Tarnopol. These areas we did control at one point, but they were taken back by partisans. This is the problem. We'll besiege these areas. We can't assault them because neither of these commanders are activated at the moment. I think we're going to press for an assault in Pressburg. Let's do just that, and I think we'll detach a corps of infantry. And Mehmed Izet, and we're going to send that corps 9 days to support. We'll keep Mehmed Ali in Vienna for the time being. Now the Marines are 4 days away from East Budapest. And we've got the Free Hungaria Corps in Banat recovering at the moment. It engaged in a fairly indecisive action in Bucharest and then fell back. Yeah, that's it. We're going to release some Bashi Bazooks that are in Pristina, just to consolidate their military control over Montenegro. My concern is there's going to be a revolt there or something. Yeah, that's all the moves that we can make. We have to basically continue holding down the interior, and we need to hold down a bit more than we are doing at the moment. So we need to really... I mean, I think at the very least for independence in Hungary to come off, we need to control all of the cities in Hungary. Yeah. And just to consolidate our position ever so slightly more. Amazing to say that when we control pretty much the entire Austrian Empire at this point. And it's been reduced to its holdings in Italy and armies that are being held. I mean, if Prussia goes to war with Austria, and they will end their military access, it could be sensational for us because they could end up destroying Austrian armies that are kind of harboring in the north, you know, also Bavaria. So it could be interesting if it happens like that, of course. But that's it. One thing that I did realize is that we do have access. I didn't scroll all the way, but this is the first ironclad. It's kind of like it's a river squadron, so it can only be on coastal areas. But yeah, our first ironclad ship, apparently invisible. It does this sometimes. I don't know why. It does it to all of them for some reason. I don't know. Yeah, it's a strange bug. It'll go back to normal eventually. But anyway, the combat factor for these river squadron ironclad gunboats is about the same as a warship of the line, which is amazing. In fact, it's more. Yeah, it's the highest combat factor, and they're just gunboats, you know. So yeah, it's a qualitative leap. Relatively cheap to manufacture as well, so we're going to start sort of producing those soon and begin the process of replacing our fleet. Yeah, quite something that. So that's a big technological step. And the other thing that we have, of course, I mentioned before, is the ability to upgrade mines. We're going to begin the process of doing that now. We're importing manufactured goods and steel to ensure that we can cover our domestic market demand whilst sort of stockpiling some for industrial upgrades. So the first coal extraction site. So at the moment, its coal output at 7. Overall productivity is at 124%. So that suggests a bit of popular local enthusiasm in the area for the regime, which increases productivity. So we're going to click on upgrade. We'll leave it a turn, and we'll see. So it's 7 this turn. We'll see what the how effective the upgrade is, sort of thing. The other thing that we've begun doing, which I neglected to mention in late December, is we've begun the process of extending our rail line into the Hejaz. The idea is we want to get from Jerusalem to Aden by 1870. That's 4 years. That's plenty of time, really. And that will allow us to kind of project ourselves much more into the Red Sea and also the Indian Ocean and position ourselves well then to begin to plan for a kind of colonial moves into sort of East Africa. East Africa, the Horn of Africa, but also sort of Kenya and Tanzania down here. Now we've got some colonial merchants. Colonial penetration should be high enough now in Lindy for us to put a trade post. It is. And we've got Qatar going over to full colonial status. One more turn for the expedition, be 48, and that should be 50. That should be Dubai in the bag. The thing I'm worried about is that the other region of Dubai is only 39%. I think the average has to be 40, so we might not be able to do it. I'm not too sure. We'll see how forgiving the game is there. There was a very small revolt, incidentally, in southern Iraq. That's been dealt with and is being suppressed. It's the first regional revolt of that kind that we've had in some time, actually. In fact, what we might do is institute temporary martial law in some areas, so in areas like Iraq, just suppress militancy a little bit. It won't cost too much. That's it. That's it for this turn, I think. Economic administration has been set. Just double checking it. Checking assets balance, which is good. Inflation is still at 0%. Domestic demand looks to be kind of nominal. Everything's being met. And all of our moves that we can make or want to make, I think, are being made. As far as I can tell. Austrian forces sitting in Silesia. How long will it take? See, it's really difficult weather now, so it's hard to move the troops very far. 17 days is a long time. I think we'll keep the Tripoli division in Kronstadt for the time being. Defensive posture, defend and retreat. Yeah, that's everything. And we've got Mehmed Ali staying tight in Vienna. Okay, good stuff. Yeah, so I'll put you on pause past turn and see you on the other side in late January. Okay, welcome back then, late January, and no significant developments over the last fortnight. Lots of small engagements with, as you can appreciate, a mixture of kind of Austrian regular forces that are just under strength, roaming the countryside, mixed with kind of partisans. Our sort of small-scale operations, we're starting to break our large armies down now into kind of core-sized forces. They've got much more kind of tactical flexibility. In conjunction with brigades is beginning to kind of tell. We've increased our war score to 254. 250 is what we need. So we have sent a peace proposal to Austria asking for the liberation of Hungary. We'll see if it happens. I suspect it won't. I suspect they will send us something, and what they send us sort of trumps or we send them somehow, and it'll be absolutely rubbish, you know. But we'll see. That's what's happened so far. But that's, you know, that's what we're aiming for. And if we can't achieve it over a period of months, then obviously we'll look at Croatia or something like that. But Grossfaden's back in our hands, but there is a larger Austrian force than we've seen in a while. It's hard to make out what this is. It's a mixture of forces. Let's see if we get the Tripoli division to Grossfaden. It's 19 days. That's not really good. But force march. It's 20% chance. Let's give it a go. We're going to get this militia brigade into Grossfaden, and I think we'll get the cavalry. Well, no, we'll get both brigades into Grossfaden, into the town, to hold the town. So it's being besieged. Tripoli division's on the way. If the force march comes off, it'll be 15 days. We're set to an all-out attack if it comes off. Now, at Tarnopol, we've got mixed regular Austrian forces. I think these are forces that fell back from Russia. They kind of joined partisans and managed to retake the town. Anyway, these forces are under strength. They have got a commander that I haven't seen before, I don't think. Orenburg, is it Kronberg, von Kronberg, okay. Anyway, he's surrounded inside the town. We're going to move Rita Pasha, who's activated assault posture to Tarnopol, 8 days, and then on to Bukovina. Should be 2 birds with 1 stone. And the hope is, of course, that there's no significant revolt in the interior whilst that happens. Now, what else can we do? Let's have a look at the Free Hungary Corps. It's in pretty good shape. We're set to offensive posture. In fact, we're set to assault, all out, and we're going to move to Sopol. That force can be joined by the Marine Brigade from Eastern Hungary. Good. Weather's pretty tough. It's not too bad, though. Their forces are moving okay. Attrition isn't too bad. Their organisation is reasonable. So this is a corps that we separated from Mehmed Ali. I think we'll bring that corps back. Keep this cavalry brigade in place. And that's pretty much it. Things are stabilising a little bit, but these revolts happen in fits and bursts, you know. But yeah, we need to close up this kind of position they've got around Belgrade once again. We've been there before, of course, but... Okay. Do a faint probing attack into Bucharest with the Serenaika Brigade, just to see if there's anything there. I mean, we can't always see Austrian forces, but we can see that our military control in this region is reduced. Suggests Austrian forces may have passed through. Now, we do have a new commander at our disposal, and that is Ahmed Mukhtar Pasha. Got a quite cool little portrait. He's like a defensive commander, so a fort defender. That's interesting. A defensive engineer. And overly cautious. So, an out-and-out defensive commander then. That's fine. I think what we'll do is give him command of the we'll get him to Eastern Hungary. We'll give him command of the Free Hungary Corps for the time being. That'll make that force a bit more effective, and that can close up the operation in Grossfaden as well. And he can have a mixed force, I think. We'll give him command of the Cavalry Brigade, the Free Hungary Corps, and the Marine Brigade. That'll give him a kind of mixed ad hoc force that he can use for really partisan suppression in sort of southern Hungary. Yeah, and that's it. This is a corps that would attach to basically cover Prague. This is Hussein Pasha, not Hussein Avni. And that his force was detached from Abdul Karim Nadir. We're keeping our forces in kind of Bohemia and sort of central or western Hungary, just sort of stationary for the time being, I think. What is this, like a mixed army corps? We might detach a corps, actually. Let's attack Namik Pasha. Oh, he's not activated, damn. Well, there's more than one way to skin a cat, actually. We'll keep him there. We'll just send Hussein Avni instead of the rest of the force. Because Hussein Avni is activated. And Namik Pasha, the Imperial Guard, can stay back and hold Salzburg. If he's engaged, we'll get him to set, actually, to defend and retreat. So if he's overwhelmed, he'll fall back towards Vienna if the Bavarians try to intervene. That's it. Now, we upgraded our first mine from what would have been, it wasn't this one, an extraction site, to what is now a coal pit. And the output is 15 units. I think it was 7, wasn't it? It was 7 before, so it's slightly more than doubled. That's really good. And we're going to try and do that with every coal mine that we have. So, that's Smyrna. Let's go with the coal mine in Ankara next. We've got manufactured goods here. We've got enough of everything we need. Actually. Operational cost is 618. We'll hold off for the time being, because we don't have quite enough private capital to do that. What we'll do actually is quickly check our manufactured goods imports. So 20 from Venezuela. We'll halve that. Good. $30 units of coal, or 40 actually. Reduce that ever so slightly, back down to 30. So we're putting 30 units of timber per turn, my god. And it's still not quite enough. Japan produces a lot of timber, actually. We'll import another 10 units. Okay, good stuff. State revenue's decent. Let's begin the construction then of our first ironclad ships. 100 state revenue, 12 steel, 4 coal, 4 conscripts, 180 days. Let's do it. The beginning of a new era. Oh, they have cool names, excellent. Oh, there we go, the picture's returned. They can even transport small numbers of troops, but they are only river. They're basically coastal sort of ships, you know. But yeah, they're made out of iron, so nothing can sink them at the moment. It's the beginning of a new age. So even some kind of triple-decker ship of the line, or something like HMS Victory, something absolutely colossal, would not be able to sink an ironclad gunboat because you can't sink them at the moment. Excellent. Right, that's good. I've got to put you on pause. Past turn. It's late Jan, so we'll pick up on the other side in, early February. See you on the other side. Okay, welcome back. Early February. Really good round, actually. So we've managed to reconsolidate the kind of Ruthenian frontier with Russia, which had fallen under the control of a mixture of irregular Austrian forces and I guess regulars falling back from Russia, from the Austrian positions in Ukraine. And we pretty much seem to have cleared this position out. We're going to keep Avni Pasha and Risa Pasha in position for the time being, I think, just to keep the peace. And we're beginning to assemble a force now in Sombor. We're besieging Sombor. We've got Ahmed Mutar Pasha, then our new commander. He's a defensive commander, but we're going to try and give him command of the Hungary Corps and see what happens. We're besieging Sombor. We're quite close to taking it. We've got the Marine Brigade also supporting the Free Hungary Corps. I was thinking of moving the kind of Tripoli division, but actually on reflection I'm not going to. We're going to keep it in Kronstadt. What's going on? We'll keep it in Grossbaden for the time being, defensive posture. And it happened again. This force failed to move in. Yeah, there's an Austrian force besieging Bucharest that we can't see. Huh? Okay, well, 12 days. We're set to evade combat. I mean, it's heavy snow, so I guess wherever the force is, it's kind of concealed. But Austria has greater military control over the region. It must be a really small force. There's no indication that Bucharest is being besieged, so maybe the force is set to evade combat. I'm not too sure. But okay, what's going on over here then? An Austrian force moved south, cavalry brigade. A carry brigade that was in Presburg down towards Sarajevo, 13 days. Hussein Avenue to Innsbruck, that's good. I mean, the engagements are so small, it would seem sort of almost meaningless reading through each one. So Russian forces to the north, that's okay. I think that's all we're going to do this round. Our war score is 274. Austria has offered us some kind of chicken feed nonsense. So basically this is what happens. Austria offers their absolute nonsense. Use diplomacy screen to answer it. And our offer is no longer valid. Because they've offered us something. It's really, really irritating. Let's actually refuse instead of ignore. Maybe refusing will allow us to take the initiative next turn or something. So reject. I mean, they're offering us what? 73 over 1 year plus liberation of Moldavia. It's not enough. So reject proposal. It'd be nice if once you did that, it instantly became available for us to make an offer. But anyway, for the most part, the diplomacy suite is quite good, really. But it's one irritating feature of it. So we'll reject it. Next turn, we'll try and push for Hungarian. Like I said, we've got 74 or 274 war score or something. Let's have a look. (272). I think there's nothing more that we can do in terms of any military moves. Economic administration has been set, but I am going to double check it. Yeah, that's good. Let's check assets balance very quickly. Yep, good, good. And we've got our ironclads being made. I think we have an independent transport squadron kicking around somewhere. It's got to be in Constanta. There we are. Let's get the transport fleet back together and quickly check the Middle East then, see what's going on. Okay, so we're going to play a pacify card in Aden. And we're going to lift this militia brigade. Days, very good. 5 turns, formal colonial status. So yeah, everything's looking pretty good. going to put a couple of colonial forts, just sort of in the interior here. We'll build one for the time being. Okay, time to expand the second coal mine. That's going to be in Ankara. And that's good. We should have enough private capital left over after that. And that's it. That's early February in the bag. I think there's nothing else we could really do. Let's quickly check the Crete Brigade. It's receiving replacements at the moment. Okay, that's it. We're going to pass turn, and we'll see you on the other side in late Feb. Okay, welcome back. Late February. Nothing significant to report. No major engagements in Hungary. I've organised troop movements, or Austria and Hungary. I've organised troop movements to try and counter various kind of partisan concentrations. Zagreb is currently controlled by partisans, so we're moving forces in to counter that. We still have the victory points necessary to press for Hungarian independence. We're going to do that. We rejected the Austrian offer last term. The hope is this time our offer would kind of trump whatever they're offering, and they'll give us a response or ignore it, I suppose. But we have the points to press for it, so we'll kind of see what happens. Other than that, Piedmont Sardinian forces are making a kind of showing in northern Italy, which is interesting. It looks like they have a fairly large army, and I'm not sure if they should be in a position ready to move against the Austrians and press for Italian unification. So we'll sit tight and sort of see what happens there. Other than that, the war is kind of won. It's just securing the peace now, and doing so in something that resembles a timely fashion. I think if we haven't got anything by kind of May or June, we'll press for Croatia or something like that. Maybe, I don't know. It's in the last analysis, to have done this and then just accept some kind of payout seems crazy. Like, we should be in a position to impose harsh peace terms on the Austrian Empire. There's just no reason why, why we wouldn't be able to do that. So we'll keep kind of pressing. We've got Hussein Avenue moving into Klagenfurt, which has been occupied by partisans. And it's a bit of an old story, this now. It's been going on for months, and there's no point going through the minutiae detail of every attempt to counter Austrian partisan movements, because it's kind of variations on a theme, really. Austrians have cropped up around Prague. We do have forces in place there to counter that, but it's not activated. But in any case, there's no prospect of that force taking Prague. Vienna's safe, and we are relocating Bezid Pasha to the south. The reason being is we're looking to kind of retake Sombor. Ahmed Mukhtar, his force is not quite large enough, I think, to press into Belgrade. So we want to get Bezid Pasha in the south, and to position him, really, this is a kind of staging ground for a move against Belgrade, and to finish off the Austrian army that's based there. That's it. Economic admin has been set. We've begun the construction of our second kind of flotilla of ironclad ships. We won't build huge numbers of these because this is a transitional technology, but these forces alone, as I say, they're worth a flotilla of kind of ship of the lines, and they're actually cheaper, even though they're made out of iron. We've begun the construction of the next coal mine upgrade. So we've upgraded our coal mines now to large pits in both Smyrna and Ankara, and Zonguldak is next. That'll be all the coal mining sites in Anatolia. We'll then begin to look at coal mining sites in the Balkan Peninsula and continue the process of upgrading. Let's really quickly check assets balance to see. So we're importing 30 units. So we can reduce that now to 20. And we're running at a slight loss, but with the completion of the Zonguldak mine upgrade, that should put us in a sort of a positive. With all of these mines upgraded, we can stop importing coal again, and we could even be a coal exporter for a period of time. And there'll be other technologies that come along that allow us to expand and improve the efficiency of our coal mines. The key thing is that we want that to keep pace with our expanding industrial base. And we have got the construction of a number of factories in Ankara. We've got a manufactured goods shop and also a mechanical parts shop being constructed. And in Sinop, we've got a manufactured goods shop being constructed also. So we are continuously expanding our industrial base, intensifying efforts into the central and western Anatolia. That's pretty much it. Yeah, we went for the colonization of Qatar. I mean, that's 4 turns away, and then we're going to be looking to press for colonization of Dubai. We're currently moving in it's a militia brigade, but really they're regular infantry now, into a part of Qatar, so we can maybe look to raise colonial penetration there, using military means. And it looks like Expedition Pacify has come off, so we've got to wait for that card to play out. That'll increase colonial penetration by 2% in Aden. We need it to get to 50 ultimately. And that is it. That's everything. Nothing else to report this turn. So we're going to put you on pause. Past turn. And it's 50-50, but I'm really hoping that this is the end of the war. I'm really hoping that Austria accepts our peace proposal. Our experience so far is that just doesn't happen. They're going to offer us something completely rubbish in the next fortnight that somehow, inexplicably, that offer trumps our own, and our offer is just kind of it just doesn't happen. We don't even lose any diplomats from it. So I'm guessing it just keeps happening until we have more diplomats than the Austrians, until they run out of diplomats. And I guess when that happens, they have to sort of accept what we offer them, or at least until we have more diplomats than they do. Maybe that's how it's kind of done. I'm not too sure. I have to kind of reference the rule book. But put you on pause, past turn. It's late Feb, so we'll see you on the other side in early March. Okay, welcome back. Early March then, and much the same story. No significant actions. We're juggling forces around, really, to kind of try and, do what we have to do, really, to hold as much territory in the interior as possible. Again, there's no prospect of any serious military reversal. It's just losing towns like Zagreb and Graz, and even if it's temporary, it puts us in a difficult position, sort of forcing through kind of our demands. We've dipped to 248, slightly below the threshold required for pushing for Hungarian independence. In any case, the same thing happens. So basically, our diplomatic proposal is just no longer valid, and that's because Austria proposes something. They've proposed basically this time to make Bohemia, Moravia, and Slovakia independent, basically Czechoslovakia, plus a small amount of money. It would weaken the Austrian Empire, but we're going to hold out for Hungary. We'll see what they offer. I mean, they seem to be offering the northern territories. I'm half tempted to accept this, because it would weaken them significantly. Probably more so, to tell you the truth, than if Hungary was independent. And it's hard to see them, I don't know, it's hard to imagine them recovering from losing both Bohemia and Moravia and Slovakia, which is kind of this area here. The large chunk, it's nearly kind of nearly a quarter of their territory, but again, I think that Hungary would be more significant. I think it'd be a larger territory. I think it's huge. It's sort of this area here, and would reduce the Austrians precisely to the north. We don't want northern regions becoming independent and having them concentrate in the southern Balkans. But I don't know. I'm sort of half tempted to accept it, but I won't. We'll hold out and see what other offers come. I think we'll put sort of May as a deadline. If we can't get Hungary by May, it just means that we're going to really, really struggle, and we'll see what territorial concessions they offer. Croatia, again, would be kind of appealing. Maybe Croatia and Montenegro, something like that. Other than that, economic admin has been set for the turn. Coal production is ramping up. It's increasing. So we've got a coal pit in Zonderlag, Ankara, and Smyrna. Let's quickly check coal production against. So we're importing 20 units. We can actually reduce that. So we're importing 10 units now and breaking even. And we have many other coal mines. I mean, many. We've got, let's have a look, 2, 3, 4 coal mines that we can still upgrade, doubling productive capacity. So we are going to be a net coal exporter very, very soon. That's pretty much it. We're making a couple of military moves then. So Berzy Pasha is moving in to assault Belgrade. We've got independent mixed brigade moving north to deal with Austrian partisans at Klausburg. Ahmed Pasha's army is conducting an assault on Krakow, which fell to, I guess, the Austrian partisans. And we're looking to clear the districts around Vienna, and also Hussein Avni Pasha is conducting an assault towards Graz. We're currently besieging an Austrian force in Zagreb. We'll probably move Hussein Avni south towards Zagreb once Graz is retaken. That's pretty much the military moves for the next fortnight. So we've got to press on. Admin has been set. Colonial kind of moves have been set also. And yeah, the key thing is it's been going on, I mean, a long time now. The war's been won sort of 6 months, really, 6 months ago. And there's this kind of sense of almost despondency, how do we end this war? There's no way that I could accept something small. Otherwise, it would have been pointless of doing this, really. I mean, okay, they declared war on us, but we'll see what happens. I guess once it's done, it's done. It's just, it's got to be the right peace deal. We want to make sure that we're not in a situation like this again. We don't want Austria declaring war on us when Russia does, or we're at war with maybe Italy and Russia at the same time. Austria decides to make a move. So we want to make sure that we do this right. But anyway, we'll see what happens. We'll put you on pause, past turn, and we'll see you in late March. Okay, welcome back, late March, and interesting turn. So our move into Belgrade was successful. Fairly substantial Austrian forces there. We had to break down over a number of assaults. Belgrade is liberated, and then legally our forces have to extract themselves from the province. There are Austrian forces that still might try and slip back in. If they do, we'll keep Bezi Pasha in the area so he can move in if need be. For the most part, things are looking fairly tidy. There's still pockets of resistance that crop up from time to time that we're dealing with. We have forces sufficiently spread out now, and we've detached a number of independent corps that we can kind of impose ourselves in most part of the country with sufficient force to destroy any kind of partisans or insurgents that sort of crop up. It looks like some partisans have destroyed the railways in Maren temporarily. That's pretty much it. In terms of combat reports, nothing significant really to report. As I say, in terms of meaningful conflict, the kind of war's over. We're clearing the districts around Prague. That's about it over the next turn. And then we've got Hussein Avni moving south to assault Zagreb. Now, there's that. That's all done. Economic administration has been set for the turn. Let's check assets balance. That looks sensible. Now, we don't have any offers from Austria at the moment. We have 270. War score. We're going to go for Liberate Nation, Hungary. And what does that leave us left? 20, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we're just going to go with that. So, 250, we've got 20 points left after that. But we're fine with that. We just want the liberation of Hungary. Now, Austria might offer something simultaneously, once again. And if they do, there's nothing we can really do about it. We have to just kind of either accept it or ignore it or refuse it and offer them something again. But the hope is that they're going to run out of diplomats, and by default, we kind of get a say. We're upgrading the mine in Petric. That's Pristina Petric. Here we go. So that's the next, basically, the next kind of industrial. They're quite expensive, these mine upgrades. They're not cheap, so they do sort of take quite a bit of resources. That's pretty much it. I'm going to probably press on until next turn. We'll see how the next offer goes. If it falls flat again, well, I'll probably leave it there, whatever the weather, until next time sort of thing. But yeah, if they refuse this, or if we don't get the offer in, kind of back to the drawing board, really, in terms of how we're going to end this war. It might be the case that we do have to accept something that they offer, but it's just something that's sufficiently damaging. Now, with a war score at 270, theoretically, if they offer us something at this moment, which we will receive next turn, it should be significant, I would have thought. And certainly Hungary could be on the card. So anyway, it's late March, admin's been set, colonial cards have been played, military moves, really just anti-sort of insurgency kind of sorties and sort of patrols are set. So we'll put you on pause, past turn, and we'll pick up on the other side. It's late March now, so in early April. Okay, so yeah, welcome back, early April, and yeah, it's same old, same old. We're struggling to kind of land a peace deal with the Austrians, and there's not really anything in the way of actual combat operations now. As I say, it's just a continual process of, at the moment, we've got a fairly consolidated hold on most of the interior. Of course, these kind of revolts can happen in fits and bursts, but there's nothing to be done now except kind of it's a waiting game. it's a waiting game and a kind of, I suppose a sort of toing and froing, a process of negotiation with the Austrians to land the deal that we want. To that end, I'll end the video here. It's been a sort of, I think we have consolidated the interior. We secured Belgrade, or the Austrians have snuck back into the city. So there'll be an operation to kind of re-secure Belgrade, or re-liberate Belgrade anyway. Beyond that, we have now got breech-loading rifles, which is a technology we've been funding for about 6 years. We're ahead of the curve, and we get a range of nice new kind of army uniforms that are a little bit more modern. So you can see the kind of little sort of epaulets and things like this, and yeah, the rate of fire of our forces will now vastly increase. Our forces will be much more effective in combat, and our infantry will have a much sort of greater range for their small arms. I mean, if you compare, let's compare the kind of regular line infantry as they are now with the ones that we had before, which is, for example, no, that's a bad example. Okay, so this is the kind of line infantry that we had previously. So yeah, kind of new uniforms, new kit, and our forces will gradually kind of upgrade. It doesn't happen instantly. It's a kind of constant process, really. So you can see soldiers are kind of trained and equipped with the new kind of weapons, and it'll take time. We have, interestingly, this has allowed us to build a specialist kind of unit, and that is a mountain division, which we've never had before. So yeah, special kind of abilities. Be quite good for the east, actually, for sort of eastern Anatolia, to build a few of these divisions. And huge part of the Ottoman Empire are very mountainous, of course. So yeah, it'll be a kind of a specialization that'll be welcome in the army. We'll begin sort of, we'll probably build 3 divisions, comprise a core of mountain troops. And as time goes on, more specialized kinds of units might become available also. But yeah, welcome development. That's it. That's going to be it for this video. And it's, yeah, a bit of a shame that we missed out on the last couple of months of last year. Although that said, it's sort of been like the last couple of months that I've just depicted in this video, really. It's just a waiting game, consolidating the interior. You can see there's a huge amount of looting in the interior of the Austrian Empire, where partisans have passed through the damaged rail lines and torn up the countryside. Probably what I'll do from here is treat the game almost in peace mode, which is to say that I'll pass through a few turns. It seems, I can imagine it's rather dull just to watch turns being passed with no kind of real resolution, and we'll pass through a few turns and see what happens. I think at some point the Austrians are just going to run out of diplomats anyway, and whilst we're not able to actually put an offer to them, we don't expend any diplomats, so it might be a case of just waiting the Austrians out, maintaining our position, maintaining the war score that we have, which is pretty good at the moment. It's 270. Let me look. 281, yeah, so it's very good at the moment. It's certainly enough to sort of secure the independence of Hungary. So yeah, and what I'll do is probably begin the next video with really a kind of sit rep. Either when Austria agrees to a peace, or they don't and I accept an Austrian peace or something like that. Unless there's a significant development in the meantime, for example, another great power intervenes, Italy suddenly forms, or Rome falls to the Piedmont of Sardinia, or indeed if Prussia sort of wades in and intervenes. So, bar any kind of major geopolitical developments, I will treat the game as though we're sort of in peace mode. Again, unless there's a significant battle or something like that, because it's not possible now for Austria to turn the tide. They have forces kind of harboured in German territory and the various German principalities, but these are not enough to reimpose themselves, and furthermore, they're obviously struggling to get replacements and supplies and this sort of thing. And yeah, all they really have is a kind of smattering of forces around the exterior, really, and occasionally they'll get insurgents and partisans in the interior, but we've got forces fairly spread out, and we're effectively dealing with them and keeping the fires kind of dampened. So yeah, to that end, we'll treat the game as though it's peacetime, and provide the next report, well, when there's another development, and if not, in a couple of months, I suppose, sort of 2 to 3 months' time. So yeah, thanks for watching this video. It's been an elusive kind of piece, and we'll see what happens. But thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.